A middle-aged woman walked silently in the pouring rain. Her sad appearance seemed to carry a lot of thoughts. Suddenly, a taxi stopped by the side of the road. The driver rolled down the window and gently called the woman to get in the car. The woman seemed to be hypnotized and got into the car unconsciously without knowing where the destination was. When she woke up, she found herself in an old photo studio. On the wall were countless portraits of old people. The woman tried to stay calm. She thought that since she had come here, taking a photo would be fine. At this moment, the owner of the photo studio suddenly appeared. The woman was stunned to realize that he was the taxi driver who had brought her here, but strangely, the driver said that he had never driven a taxi. He was just the owner of the photo studio. The woman thought she had seen the wrong person. Then she sat down in front of the mirror and started putting on makeup to cover up the aging on her face. The owner of the photo studio was ready with an old camera. The woman smiled gently. In a flash of the camera, the owner of the photo shop mysteriously disappeared. The woman turned around and looked in the mirror in confusion. She was very surprised to see that her wrinkles and gray hair were gone. Her appearance was no different from a 20-year-old girl. Mao Sun did not understand what was happening. She screamed in surprise and hid her face to confirm that this was not a dream. Mao Sun walked out of the shop full of doubt and anxiety. There were many people passing by outside the door. Obviously, this was not a dream. She turned around and saw that the photo shop was called Than Swan. Mao Sun asked some elementary school students standing nearby if she looked like an old woman or a young girl. The mischievous children replied that she looked like a young girl, but her way of dressing and hairstyle was no different from their grandmother. Only then did Mrs. Mao Sun believe that she had truly returned to her youth. After a moment of inexplicable thinking, Mao Sun took a taxi to the supermarket near her house. However, Mao Sun did not expect that the supermarket owner would suddenly throw a basin of water on her. At the crucial moment, Mao Sun jumped flexibly to avoid the water and even jumped a few steps. She found that her back no longer hurt and her legs were no longer tired. The person who was splashed with water was not her, but her old friend's son. Mrs. Mao Sun calmed down and stood in front of the mirror on the sidewalk. Then she tried to twist her body. Mrs. Mao Sun felt her body was surprisingly supple and her skin was smooth. Although she did not know what was going on, Mao Sun decided to consider this a gift from God. After a morning of thinking, her stomach began to growl, so Mao Sun decided to go to a nearby restaurant. A few days ago, this restaurant was still hers, but because her son-in-law was incompetent and could not manage it, she had to give the shop to a pair of brothers. When she arrived at the restaurant, Mao Sun sat down. She opened the familiar dishes on the table to check. Then Mao Sun tasted the rice soup that was served. She began to comment on the food very harshly. Then she continued to repeat the recipes to the two brothers. Mrs. Mao Sun asked them to restore the old taste. After eating her fill, Mao Sun slowly walked down the street. Just then, Mao Sun's daughter Ji Su passed by and did not recognize her mother. Mao Sun walked away, disappointedly. Then she returned to the youth photo shop. The shop had disappeared. Mao Sun looked at her reflection in the window and saw how outdated and matronly her outfit appeared. After thinking for a while, Mao Sun walked into a clothing store and bought a small vest with a long floral skirt. When she went out, Mao Sun's eyes stopped at the sign of an old bar. This place was associated with her youthful memories. 50 years ago, she worked here. One night, she met a group of energetic students. Mao Sun and a boy in the group sang a song and recalled old memories. Mao Sun walked into the bar. After 50 years, the bar inside had completely changed. In particular, there was an automatic ordering machine that Mao Sun did not know how to use. Mao Sun looked at the screen with control buttons and English words. She tried a few times but still did not understand anything. At this time, a girl approached and kindly helped her order. Mao Sun was surprised to realize that it was her niece, Hana. Mao Sun discovered that Hana had joined a band and was singing at the bar. After the performance, Hana and Mao Sun went out. Mao Sun pretended to be Hana's grandmother's friend from the countryside. Mao Sun had met Hana when she was little. Even though Hana recognized the phone Mao Sun was using as the same type as her grandmother's, Hana still believed Mao Sun. After chatting, Hana was about to leave, but Mao Sun pulled Hana back. Mao Sun said that she had nowhere to go and felt scared. Hana, out of kindness, took Mao Sun to a karaoke bar. There, Mao Sun sang and relaxed without feeling tired. While singing, Mao Sun started to feel a stomachache, so she rushed to the supermarket to buy sanitary napkins. Looking at the shelves full of sanitary napkins, Mao Sun felt embarrassed. In the end, she randomly grabbed a pat and left. At this time, a strange man appeared. He grabbed Mao Sun's hand and did not allow her to leave, but the man looked at the sanitary napkins in Mao Sun's hand and understood everything and said that he would wait for her outside. After Mao Sun came out of the bathroom, she ignored the man and approached Hana. Hana was in a hurry to go home because she had an interview at an entertainment company tomorrow to become a trainee. Mao Sun muttered to herself, but the man continued to block her way and called her Emily. He introduced himself as Daniel, a director at the entertainment company. He also said that the company was planning to debut a girl group. Emily would would be the main member of this group, but recently she suddenly disappeared and did not answer any calls. A few hours before Mao Sun made her purchase, she took a few photos with the store owner to receive a discount. The store owner then posted it on social media to advertise. It was these photos that caught Daniel's attention. Mao Sun looked exactly like Emily, who had recently gone missing. Mao Sun was very confused about this stubborn man, and she thought he was a pervert. However, when Daniel showed her a video of Emily singing, Mao Sun was so surprised that she couldn't speak because the woman in the video looked exactly like her. Daniel insisted that Emily was just playing a prank, and he asked her to return to the company to prepare for her music career. Looking at the business card that Daniel gave her, Mao Sun felt very confused and sad. That day was really strange and long for her. At night, when Mao Sun returned home, she heard happy laughter coming from her daughter's house. Today, Ji-suk had just been promoted to senior manager. It seems like she doesn't care about her mother, who is alone outside. Instead, Ji-suk is celebrating his promotion and raise with her husband. Mao Sun feels extremely disappointed. It seems like no one in this house cares about her. The next day, Mao Sun curiously goes to Daniel's entertainment company. Daniel promises to turn her into a top singer. However, Mao Sun can't help but worry that Daniel will find out that she is an imposter. Even though Mao Sun tries to hint at her true identity, Daniel is still convinced that she is Emily. Mao Sun reluctantly accepts Daniel's plan to become a star. Daniel is very strict, so he only gives her 3 months to practice. When the time is up, she must release an album immediately. At the same time, Hana comes to the company for an interview. She is surprised to see a figure that looks exactly like her grandmother, but the difference is that this person is dressed very fashionably and seems to be a high-ranking employee in the company. At this time, Mao Sun came out of Daniel's office and met the woman. The two looked at each other and felt something was different. At this time, the other members of the girl group appeared and pulled Mao Sun away. They kept mocking and laughing at Mao Sun. They warned her not to do stupid things anymore. On the other side, a woman who looked a lot like Mao Sun asked to see Daniel, but because she didn't have an appointment, she was prevented from entering by the staff. Hana saw that woman and thought it was her grandmother. Hana exclaimed that her grandmother looked so stylish now, and she reminded her grandmother to stop wandering around and go home. However, the woman had no idea who Hana was. Hana went to the company to participate in the trainee selection round. When Daniel saw Hana, he remembered the request that Mao Sun had made. If he wanted Mao Sun to continue as a trainee, he had to help Hana pass the audition. This was Mao Sun's only condition. Fortunately, Hana had excellent singing and dancing skills, and the judges all agreed to choose her. Mao Sun, who was standing nearby, heard the results and was very happy. That night, Hana returned home and thought that her grandmother had returned, but the house was still quiet, which made her feel very disappointed. Only now did she realize that she missed her grandmother very much. The next day, Daniel brought Mao Sun into the group. He asked the members to cooperate to quickly complete the practice sessions before debuting. The members of the group still treated Mao Sun rudely, but she did not give in. She used the tone of an elder to call the members children, and she declared that she would compete fairly with them. Mao Sun's personality changed completely, causing her superiors to begin to doubt her identity. However, Daniel still insisted that Emily's singing voice was what proved her identity. That night, Daniel kept Mao Sun and took her out for a hot pot. He used a series of questions in English to ask Mao Sun. He wanted to know why she changed so suddenly. However, Mao Sun didn't understand what Daniel said. Mao Sun even considered him as her nephew. Mao Sun gave him a chili and advised him to be careful to survive in this difficult world. She also told him to eat something before drinking. After telling her, she looked at Daniel's face and wondered whose descendant he was, that he was so handsome. Daniel gave Mao Sun the trainee contract and asked her to sign it. When Mao Sun finished signing, Daniel breathed a sigh of relief and poured her wine. But Mao Sun continued to give him chili peppers like an old lady. She kept reminding him to take care of his health. After drinking, he had to eat something first. The next day when Mao Sun woke up from the dormitory, she realized that path to becoming a trainee had begun. To manage his figure, the only breakfast for trainees was vegetable salad. Mao Sun started mumbling again, thinking that young people must eat a lot to grow taller, otherwise they would never grow. After finishing the salad, she had to weigh herself. The youngest member of the group, because of her uncontrolled eating habits, had exceeded the standard weight. The woman in charge of managing her asked her to run an extra hour on the treadmill. Hearing this, Mao Sun mumbled like an old lady. She didn't understand why young people were so harsh on themselves. Next was the formal practice. Since Mao Sun was a complete non-dancer, she danced all wrong and couldn't keep up with the rhythm. This made the group members laugh uncontrollably. Daniel didn't want Emily to become a laughingstock, so he asked the dance teacher to keep Mao Sun and even give her one-on-one training. Mao Sun watched the video of her dancing with the members and tried to practice dancing. This scene made the company's superiors unbearable. They took her to the hair salon to change her hairstyle. After a while of styling, Mao Sun's rustic hairstyle was transformed into bangs, and a bun. This made Mao Sun look like a young girl. She looked in the mirror and couldn't believe her eyes. Unexpectedly, the beautiful girl in the mirror was her. Seeing this change, Daniel felt very satisfied. Mao Sun didn't care much anymore. She confidently showed off her figure and walked into the company. She felt like she had returned to her youth. Even though it might just be a dream for Mao Sun, it was worth it. When no one was around, Mao Sun went to the singing room to reminisce about her youth. She held the microphone and sang alone. While Mao Sun was singing, Daniel appeared and played the guitar to accompany her. Her voice was full of emotion. In Daniel's guitar playing, Mao Sun was completely immersed in the song. However, Daniel was still not satisfied. He gave her a pile of documents and asked her to stop singing old songs and memorize the lyrics of new songs. That night, Mao Sun started to memorize the lyrics. Strangely, when the song in her headphones played, her heart beat faster. Daniel's image kept appearing in her mind. On this side, Hana received the news that she had passed the company's trainee selection round, so she was very happy. The next morning, Hana ignored her mother's objections and dragged her luggage and decided to stay in the company's dormitory. Mao Sun was already outside the company to pick up Hana. Mao Sun encouraged Hana to try her best. Hana was surprised to know that her grandmother's friend was also there. Mao Sun didn't explain much but led Hana to the company's dormitory. Hana's room was already arranged. It wasn't big, but it was very cozy. Hana really liked this new room. Taking this opportunity, Mao Sun asked about Hana's grandmother. Hana didn't seem worried and said that her grandmother was different from other old people. Her grandmother was very strong, so she didn't need to worry too much. However, Mao Sun felt frustrated and asked Hana why she didn't try to find her grandmother. Mao Sun was angry that her grandchild didn't care about her. Then she ran out to drink alone. A strange man from across the street came to get acquainted, but Mao Sun loudly said that the world has changed a lot. If it were before, people like him would have been killed. Her words aroused the man's curiosity. However, Mao Sun still kept saying cruel words. She criticized him for not being worthy of being called a man. The pervert felt that Mao Sun was even more adorable and immediately approached. However, Mao Sun reacted quickly. She pushed the pervert down on the table. Daniel was having dinner at the bar and happened to witness this scene. Mao Sun quickly stood up and let her hand of the man, but Daniel was stronger. He restrained the pervert down on the table. Then he told Mao Sun to call the police immediately. The next day, when he watched the video of Mao Sun practicing dancing, Daniel couldn't help but laugh. When Mao Sun arrived, Daniel immediately became serious and asked her to explain what happened last night. However, Daniel started to joke and said that if Mao Sun continued to cause trouble, her singing career would end right from the start, and as a result, the whole group would die together. Mao Sun quickly apologized. Then she promised not to make the same mistake again. Surprisingly, Daniel, who was usually very strict, easily forgave her this time. He took her to meet a leader. When the two of them met the leader, Mao Sun was extremely surprised because the leader was Jun Sim, an old friend with whom Mao Sun had a long-standing feud. 50 years ago, in a bar, Mao Sun met a young man. This young man admired her singing so much that he praised her in front of everyone. Unfortunately, this young man died not long after. At the young man's funeral, the young man's relatives gave Mao Sun a music book that he had written himself. He expected her to sing those songs. However, Mao Sun did not understand music theory and Jun Sim appeared. Jun Sim took the music book and promised that she would record it and send it to Mao Sun. Jun Sim then kept the songs and used them to develop her singing career. Jun Sim did not recognize Mao Sun. Jun Sim only told Daniel that Emily looked like someone she knew in the past. From Daniel, Mao Sun knew that if Emily succeeded and could step onto the international stage, Jun Sim's career would reach its peak and become more perfect. Mao Sun felt confused and wondered if she should continue to pursue her dream or just be a tool to help her enemy succeed. In her confusion, Mao Sun sought Hana's advice. Hana advised Mao Sun that if there was truly hatred, pursuing one's dream was the best way to get revenge. Hana's words made Mao Sun completely understand. She decided not to let any grudges get in the way of her future. After a night of practice, Mao Sun was finally able to dance reasonably well. She continued to work hard on her singing, dancing, and sports. While she was practicing, Hana pulled her along. Hana said that she would help Mao Sun overcome the obstacles of old age. Mao Sun would learn new things. Mao Sun found out that the members of the group had nicknamed her Nursing Home because her tone of voice sounded like that of an elderly person. Hana knew this, so Hana set up a series of rules for Mao Sun to improve her way of speaking. For example, when she wanted to emphasize something, she had to add the word super, such as super delicious or super beautiful. Hana also taught Mao Sun common internet words and phrases and funny abbreviations. Hana asked Mao Sun to stop speaking in the local dialect and to memorize youthful internet slang. Mao Sun was happy with Hana's concern, but at the same time, Mao Sun also realized that danger was continuing to surround her. The members of the girl group brought out a package of medicine and said it was Emily's. It contained antidepressants and sedatives. They suspected that Emily's singing and dancing abilities were due to the effects of the medicine. Mao Sun disagreed with this thinking. She believed believed that if she had to take medicine, the members should care for her and help her, not take advantage of the opportunity to attack her. Mao Sun warned the members that if they continued to invade her things, she would fight to the end. That night, Mao Sun watched a video of a male group dancing. She was surprised to find that the person standing in the center was Daniel. Hana told Mao Sun that Daniel used to be the main member of a legendary boy group. At that time, a crazy fan of the group followed and bothered them. When the members reported to the police, Daniel stood up and took the blame. He said that she was his girlfriend. This caused the group to be involved in a scandal and eventually disbanded. After Daniel left the group, he turned to become a music producer. Now, every time Daniel receives a message from another crazy fan, he feels extremely scared. While Daniel was worrying about this situation, he saw Mao Sun turning her butt towards the elevator. At this time, Daniel decided to invite Mao Sun to eat hot pot. It had been a long time since Mao Sun had been able to eat freely. Seeing her eat so much, Daniel couldn't help but laugh and tease her, but Mao Sun didn't care. Mao Sun immediately gave Daniel a piece of fried chicken and said that only when people were full would they have the energy to work. After saying that, she took out a bottle of stress-relieving medicine and gave it to Daniel. Daniel saw Mao Sun's silent concern, and his eyes softened and revealed a warm smile. But Mao Sun bluntly said that people like you are not my type. You have to be around 60 years old to be called a real man. Daniel was drinking water and almost choked and coughed. He looked at Mao Sun and couldn't believe his eyes. The next day, when the teachers watched the video of the girl group's practice, they all noticed Mao Sun's rapid progress, to the point that she could coordinate with the other members. However, the teachers also discussed that Mao Sun might be taking medicine. Daniel immediately spoke up to defend Mao Sun. He thought that teachers shouldn't judge their students like that. At this time, Hana had joined Mao Sun's group and became a new member. The company was speeding up the progress, and they asked the girl group to finish their debut song soon. At the same time, they were evaluating the level of the 6 members. Those who do not meet the requirements will be eliminated from the group. In addition to practicing for the album release, Mao Sun still wandered around near her house and discovered that the store she had transferred to was no longer visited. The owner of a nearby supermarket said that there was a rumor that the store had added cream to the soup. This news spread online, causing business to gradually decline. During the conversation, the owner also expressed her concern about Mao Sun running away from home. Mao Sun felt moved when she heard this. At this time, an elderly man in a neat suit came to find the owner of the supermarket. Mao Sun recognized this person. He used to be a customer of her store. He always used sweet words to women. Now seeing a womanizer trying to get to know the supermarket owner, Mao Sun quickly pulled the owner aside. Mao Sun said that she could see through this man's true face, and Mao Sun advised the supermarket owner to stay away from him. After leaving the supermarket, Mao Sun went to the sauna. In front of the elderly ladies, Mao Sun began with some body stretching exercises, impressing the surrounding women with her flexibility. Meanwhile, Mao Sun overheard the old ladies talking, and she knew that her daughter was looking for a house. It seemed that her daughter intended to move out and live on her own. Mao Sun thought to herself that she was not at home. It seemed that the whole family was happy and comfortable. During this time, the only person who regularly contacted her was Gap Yong. He was Mao Sun's friend for more than 60 years. Gap Yong looked for Mao Sun every day. He felt that life was no longer interesting without Mao Sun by his side. That night, when Mao Sun received a call from Gap Yong, he happily asked how she was doing. However, when he turned around, a young girl was standing behind him and told him that she was the one he was looking for. Mr. Gap Yong was completely stunned and did not understand what the girl was saying. Mao Sun then began to recount memories from more than 50 years ago between her and Gap Yong. That day was the decisive day of a wrestling tournament. Mr. Gap Yong fought with his opponent to win Mao Sun's affection. However, because he ate lamb, he had a stomachache and lost the match. Hearing this, Gap Yong immediately recognized her. Only then did he believe that the girl in front of him was Mao Sun. Mao Sun informed Gap Yong that she wanted to return home so that she could confirm her family's feelings for her and asked for his help. That night, Gap Yong went to see Mao Sun's daughter and son-in-law and asked them to let the person he introduced as his best friend Emily's niece stay for a week. After some hesitation, Ji-suk agreed. In order not to reveal Mao Sun's identity, Gap Yong gave Mao Sun a new phone. He told her to remember not to say anything that could be easily discovered by others. The next day, under Gap Yong's guidance, Mao Sun returned to her house. Unexpectedly, Mao Sun met a woman in the yard. This person looked exactly like Mao Sun. It turned out that Hana had met this woman at company before, and she thought that she was her grandmother. Hana helped her call a taxi and told the driver to take her home. Now the young and old Mao Sun were facing each other. In order to avoid being recognized by family, Mao Sun quickly pulled the woman aside and questioned who she was. Mao Sun was surprised when the woman called her sister. After recognizing that the woman was younger sister, Mao Sun coldly pushed the woman away and did not understand why her younger sister was impersonating her. No one here welcomed the woman, Sun. Mal Sun realized that she had changed into a young person. Then she wondered how her younger sister could recognize her in this form. When her younger sister was about to tell the truth, the person who injected the two called and scolded her younger sister for breaking the rules. After being reminded, the younger sister hurriedly left. That driver was the one who brought youth to Mal Sun. Because Mal Sun went out without asking for permission, she was late today. Daniel kept calling Mal Sun, but received no response. Yesterday, Mal Sun brazenly announced that she would move out of the dormitory for 10 days to deal with some personal matters, but Mal Sun assured that she would not affect the group's debut schedule. However, Mal Sun clearly broke her promise to be late. The coach in charge of the group's debut made a request that Mal Sun not attend any practice sessions for a week because Mal Sun broke the rules. Daniel tried to go to the coach to apologize on Mal Sun's behalf, but the coach was very strict and she decided that she could not indulge Mal Sun anymore. After practice, Daniel took Mal Sun to a party. Jun Sim was treating the group today. When she met the president who had stolen Mal Sun's song, Mal Sun immediately crossed her arms in front of her chest. She did not hide her displeasure and sarcastic attitude. Mal Sun openly said that in this world there are people who achieve success by stepping on others. Then she poured Jun Sim a drink herself. Mal Sun asked Jun Sim if she was really happy with such a life. Jun Sim felt very awkward. Mal Sun quickly explained that she was just curious about Jun Sim's glamorous life. The people around started gossiping, and no one liked Mal Sun with such rude behavior. Daniel pulled Mal Sun out and scolded her for being impolite. Mal Sun calmly apologized and promised to be more careful next time. Then she ran back to practice as if nothing happened. After the party, Jun Sim called Daniel in to talk privately. Daniel tried to defend Mal Sun, but Jun Sim believed that Mal Sun was trying to make her angry. Jun Sim then asked Daniel not to get involved with Mal Sun anymore. It was best for him to let Mal Sun leave the group on her own. That night, Mal Sun looked at the photo of the group members with Jun Sim, and her memories suddenly returned. More than 50 years ago, Jun Sim took the song that belonged to her. Thanks to that, Jun Sim became famous and successful. After that, she stopped going to the bar to see Mal Sun. Mal Sun recalled these memories while still diligently practicing in the practice room. Mal Sun wrote a note reminding herself that the road to conquering her dream had just begun. Recently, Mal Sun had been living at home under the name Emily. Jisuk did not know this truth, so she asked Emily not to touch Mal Sun's belongings. Mal Sun could not give up her old habits and still worriedly reminded her daughter to eat breakfast, and she asked why Jisuk had been going to the real estate office recently. Jisuk seemed a little surprised by Emily's way of speaking because her tone and use of words were very similar to her mother's, but Jisuk just thought she was a strange girl. When Mal Sun returned to the company, she saw Daniel looking very upset. Something was worrying him. It turned out that last night, Daniel discovered that someone had broken into his house. At the same time, a crazy fan of his continued to bother him and sent him messages that made him panic. Mal Sun gave Daniel a herbal pill that made him feel more secure. Immediately after, Mal Sun brought him a cup of jujube tea that she made herself. Although Daniel still acted cold and sarcastic, the way he looked at the cup of tea pushed out gentleness. On Hana's side, she has been having a lot of difficulties recently. She is trying to integrate into the group, but the other members do not like her. Hana's joining has reduced the other members' singing and dancing parts. That makes them unhappy. That day, Hana's mother called to invite her to eat. Her mother was worried because she did not continue studying at university but wanted to pursue a career as an idol, so Hana did not dare to reveal her real situation. She just said that everything was fine and advised her mother to pay more attention to Mal Sun. In front of Hana's stubbornness, Jisuk was helpless. At the same time, Daniel asked Mal Sun to come to the recording studio. He wanted to test Mal Sun's singing skills recently. When Mal Sun started singing, Daniel breathed a sigh of relief because the sound was still fine. But when it came to the chorus, Daniel heard strange harmonic sounds that did not sound like Emily's voice. Mal Sun immediately started saying that the studio was haunted and that there was a ghost sitting on Daniel's back. Along with the flashing lights in the room, Daniel was immediately frightened. But immediately after that, Mal Sun laughed loudly and said that there were no ghosts and that it was all just a joke. That night, Mal Sun laughed happily when she remembered the scene where Daniel was scared. At this time, Gapyeon came and invited her to eat meat. Mal Sun ate comfortably and felt very happy because of Gapyeon's sincerity. After eating, Mal Sun went for a walk with Gapyeon. During the conversation, Mal Sun realized that the young generation today not only knows how to complain, but they are also very smart and resilient. While walking on the street, Mal Sun picked up a bouquet of flowers and asked Mr. Gapyeon to buy them for her. Unexpectedly, the scene of the two joking around was captured by someone. The next day, Mal Sun was late for practice again. After practice ended, Mal Sun scolded a member for intentionally saying the wrong practice time to make her late. In Mal Sun's eyes, everything is fair, but that member refused to give up. She thought that Mal Sun could not take away her important position. That night, Jun Sim called Daniel and showed him photos of of Mao Sun and Gap Yong. In them, the two were acting intimately, and their relationship was unclear. These photos were taken secretly by a member who deliberately changed practice time. Jun Sim thought that Mao Sun's actions were inappropriate for an idol. Such negative rumors were unacceptable. She asked Daniel not to cover for Mao Sun anymore. Daniel replied that he would conduct a further investigation. That night, while Mao Sun was practicing, she received a call from Gap Yong. He informed her that he had received her pension and told her to come and get it. Mao Sun was very happy, but when she was about to leave, Daniel appeared in the practice room. He questioned her about the man on the phone. Mao Sun could not answer, which made Daniel angry. He announced that Emily would be kicked out of the company immediately. Mao Sun felt very angry when she realized that in Daniel's eyes, she had become a worthless person. After being kicked out of the company, Mao Sun returned home. Mao Sun continued to practice dancing. At that time, she felt hungry and opened the refrigerator to find something to eat. The refrigerator was messy and things were thrown around, making her unhappy. Hana went home and was very worried about Mao Sun. Hana was afraid that Mao Sun would really be kicked out of the group. However, Mao Sun was determined and affirmed that she would not give up easily. At the same time, Mao Sun reminded Hana to be self-reliant and stabilize her career in the company. While they were talking, they heard loud music from afar. It turned out that the neighborhood was holding a music festival for the elderly. Mao Sun and Hana squeezed in to watch. They saw a familiar neighbor dancing on stage. Mao Sun believed that her singing voice was better than that neighbor's, so Mao Sun decided to go on stage to perform with Hana. The two formed a singing group with a strange name and performed a song. When the song started, Mao Sun sang, while Hana played the guitar. Mao Sun's voice was impressive. Combined with Hana's support, it only took a moment to attract the attention of the whole neighborhood. The performance made everyone clap and dance together. The atmosphere became extremely lively. After the festival, the owner of a small supermarket nearby became an enthusiastic fan of Mao Sun. When Mao Sun was eating instant noodles in front of the supermarket, Daniel suddenly appeared. Hana explained to Daniel about the relationship between Gap Yong and Mao Sun. Daniel realized that he had misunderstood her, so when he met Mao Sun, Daniel felt very embarrassed and didn't know how to apologize. The owner of the supermarket couldn't resist her curiosity, so she joked about the relationship between Mao Sun and Daniel. She confirmed that Daniel was Mao Sun's boyfriend. Daniel didn't deny it, but just silently followed Mao Sun. The two of them didn't realize that they had accidentally walked into Gap Yong's house. Gap Yong's incompetent son was planning to turn the house into a homestay and rent it out. Seeing this, Daniel decided to buy it and move in. That way, he would be living next door to Mao Sun. Under Mao Sun's guidance, Gap Yong planned to kick Daniel out, but Gap Yong's son was in dire need of money, so he convinced Gap Yong to sign a rental contract. After Daniel signed the contract, he finally sincerely apologized to Mao Sun. That night, Mao Sun was still wondering whether she should forgive Daniel or not, or she would pretend to be cold to save face for one more day. Meanwhile, Jisuk was drinking in the living room. Mao Sun walked up to Jisuk and scolded her for a few sentences, but Jisuk got drunk and said that she really hated Mao Sun because she felt that Mao Sun never understood her mother's feelings. Mao Sun didn't argue, she just sighed and snatched the glass of wine from her daughter's hand. Then she stared at her useless son-in-law. Although Mao Sun felt a little resentful towards her daughter, when she looked at the almost empty refrigerator, she felt that she needed to do something. The next morning when Jisuk woke up, she saw her husband eating kimchi soup that her mother had cooked. The two thought that the mother had sneaked home last night. Meanwhile, Mao Sun was sitting listlessly at Gap Yong's house. Mao Sun felt very scared that she would have to hear more complaints from her daughter. Mr. Gap Yong comforted Mao Sun and gave her a helmet. He was about to drive Mao Sun to the company. However, Daniel appeared and took the helmet, demanding that Mao Sun go with him. Mr. Gap Yong disagreed, but Daniel said that he had to protect Mao Sun, so she had to get in his car. When he saw Mao Sun with another man, Gap Yong couldn't hide his disappointment. When she arrived at the company, Mao Sun regained her spirit and also declared to the members that she would do her best for the group to debut. Hana also said the same thing to the members the night before. She understood that everyone was working hard for their dreams, but she also knew that there were no permanent enemies or friends, so she hoped that everyone should not be too stressed with each other. This was the lesson that Mao Sun had taught Hana before. The next morning was the day of the debut song test. Daniel had not had a good night's sleep for a long time. However, when the coach knew that Daniel had moved to live near Mao Sun, his colleague was unhappy. She thought that Daniel did not distinguish between his company and his personal life because Daniel had always been neutral. When the debut song test began, Jun Sim suddenly appeared at the scene. Mao Sun understood that Jun Sim was there to observe her. Mao Sun tried her best to perform. At first, everything seemed fine. However, when she noticed Jun Sim's eyes and remembered the previous incident on stage, Mao Sun lost her composure and lost her rhythm. This led to the test failing. Mr. Gap Yong did not know what was going on, so he went to the company to visit Mao Sun. He even bought bought her a new outfit. Mao's son felt very bad and told him that visiting her at the company would only cause trouble. Mr. Gapyong then realized that Mao's son was now a young artist about to release an album, so she was no longer someone he could joke around with. As he drove back, Gapyong felt full of thoughts. He thought back to his past with Mao's son. More than 50 years ago, she was his first love, a love full of sweetness, but also full of regret. After he returned from the army, he discovered that she was pregnant with someone else's child. Although they missed each other, he had never forgotten his feelings for her over the years. After Mao's son got into Daniel's car and left, Gapyong still felt very uncomfortable when he saw Daniel. Unfortunately, Gapyong's son noticed Mao's son, in the form of Emily. He decided to change his old image to become a new person, and he even declared that he wanted to be her boyfriend. Mr. Gapyong felt disappointed. When he remembered his relationship with Mao's son, he could not control his emotions and sped away at high speed. The fast-moving motorbike seemed to have a problem. That night, Mao's son couldn't contact Gapyong, so she had to focus on herself. Mao's son and Hana both thought that they would be eliminated from the test because they couldn't do their parts well. However, during the evaluation meeting, the coaches disagreed on the results. Some thought that they couldn't keep up with the lineup, so they weren't good enough to debut. Others felt that Mao's son had a natural talent for singing. Hana also had a unique voice and talent for composing. With more practice, she had a chance to improve a lot. Things got even more complicated when a member of the group leaked a video of Mao's son and Hana singing at a music festival online. The video was praised by many people for their voices and talents. Mao's son even became a phenomenon in the area, and she was loved by the students. The next day, when Mao's son knew that there was a star nearby, she immediately ran after the supermarket owner to chase after her idol. In the jostling crowd, she almost fell. At this moment, a handsome young man appeared and supported her. Mao's son looked at him in confusion, but he used a familiar tone to tell her to be careful. He also complimented her on the beautiful clothes she was wearing. Looking at the clothes that Gapyong bought for her, Mao's son suddenly thought that this was Gapyong. Sure enough, that man was Mao's son's longtime best friend. To prove this, he told many old stories that only he knew about Mao's son. Finally, Mao's son believed him and asked if he had also met that strange taxi driver. Mr. Gapyong wisely did not answer this question, but only promised to tell more next time. He also talked about his sports career. When he participated in a wrestling competition, he defeated his opponent in a short time. In fact, more than 50 years ago, he participated in a wrestling match to win Mao's son's affection, and he won. Meanwhile, Mao's son's younger sister moved into her house. The younger sister pretended to be Mao's son and lied to Mao's son's daughter and son-in-law that she was Mao's son. Mao's son's daughter felt that something was wrong because her mother suddenly became fashionable and spoke Seoul dialect and occasionally used English. However, Mao's son's younger sister explained that she was just adjusting her emotions and that she would no longer interfere in her daughter's life. Ji-suk and her husband also needed to reduce their dependence on her mother. This made Ji-suk feel that she could talk to her mother on an equal footing. Mao's son's younger sister stayed in Mao's son's room. When Mao's son knew about this, she went to ask her sister, "Why you was impersonating me?" Mao's son asked her sister to stop because they had been strangers for a long time. However, Mao's son's younger sister had no intention of stopping, and she insisted that she would stay to understand Mao's son's life better. At the same time, Mao's son could enjoy her new youthful life. Mao's son felt helpless. She also could not tell her daughter and son-in-law that she was their mother. Then, Mao's son's younger sister started to rummage through the photo album, and she found pictures of herself and Mao's son. She realized that her sister had not forgotten her. Then Mao's son's younger sister started to try to build a relationship with the son-in-law, and she asked him to help reconcile the relationship between Mao's son and daughter. One day, Mao's son's younger sister went to the restaurant. The people around were gossiping about Gapyong's disappearance. They rumored that Gapyong and Mao's son had run away together. Neighbors all noticed the close relationship between Mao's son and Gapyong. Mao's son's younger sister, in order to protect Mao's son's reputation, publicly declared that she liked Tom Hanks, not a man like Gapyong. Mao's son began to worry about Gapyong. Gapyong also became younger, and Mao's son's younger sister was pretending to be Mao's son, making her unprepared. While Mao's son was thinking about this, Daniel suddenly appeared. Mao's son was curious about the results of the trainees' debut song test. Mao's son was worried that she and Hana would be eliminated. Daniel affirmed that he would always stand by her and that he would take responsibility until the end. Daniel's words of taking responsibility made Mao's son confused. Mao's son worried about the future relationship between her and Daniel. However, Daniel just smiled without answering. That made Mao's son even more curious. A big surprise happened when a video of Mao's son and Hana performing on stage at a senior citizen festival was filmed and spread online. And then the two became an internet phenomenon. Viewers praised their voices and talents. Daniel realized that this was a good opportunity for promotion, so he decided to release this information through the media. However, when the board of directors met to decide who would debut, their opinions were divided. Some Some people thought that Mao Sun and Hana's actions were just to stand out and that it was all luck. Daniel believed that the popularity of the video proved the positive response from the public. This was the best test to decide who should debut. This surprised everyone when Daniel produced the girl group's title song. It was very suitable for Emily's style and personality. Thanks to the video's effect and Daniel's strong support, Mao Sun and Hana were happy to realize that they would not be eliminated in a short time. However, the remaining members of the group began to criticize. They thought that Mao Sun acted alone, and that meant there was no fairness in the competition. Mao Sun felt relieved because she did not cheat but relied entirely on her own ability to be praised. If the members were not satisfied, they should improve themselves instead of being jealous. However, these words of Mao Sun made the members angry. They thought that she was too arrogant. Furthermore, Jun Sim, who had stolen Mao Sun's song 50 years ago, was also not satisfied with Emily's success. When Jun Sim saw Emily singing on the stage of the Senior Citizen Festival, she remembered the past. She used Mao Sun's song to become famous. She remembered when Mao Sun came to criticize her for stealing the song. Jun Sim did not feel sorry, and she thought that she was more favored by the guy that Mao Sun liked. However, Mao Sun felt that what she was robbed of was not only her song, but also her life and dreams. But Jun Sim never looked back at her and hurriedly left. Now Jun Sim feels uneasy when she sees Emily, so Jun Sim decided to investigate Emily. Since Jun Sim is the head of the company, she met with the coaches and hinted that she did not like Emily. At the same time, she planned to use her own way to remove Emily from the group. Jun Sim then asked the coaches to prepare an alternative plan. The video of Hana and Mao Sun singing at the festival went viral on the internet. Ji-suk was also watching the video. In addition to Hana smiling brightly on stage, strangely, when Ji-suk saw Emily, she remembered the image of her mother singing at home. That night, Mao Sun saw Gap Young's son sitting on the steps crying. It turned out that he was worried because he hadn't seen his father for many days. He was afraid that something had happened to his father. Mao Sun gently comforted him, but soon after, a young man, Gap Young, appeared. He naturally greeted Mao Sun, making Daniel standing nearby feel jealous. Daniel asked Mao Sun who this man was. Mao Sun couldn't explain clearly. Gap Young smiled and introduced himself that he would live in the motel next door. However, Daniel still felt uncomfortable. In order to pursue Mao Sun again, Gap Young decided to stay at his son's homestay. The next day, when he met Mao Sun at company, Daniel immediately closed the elevator door. Mao Sun tried to intervene. Daniel bluntly questioned and doubted the relationship between Mao Sun and Gap Young. He warned Daniel not to let his love life affect his work. Mao Sun was angry at Daniel's attitude. At this time, the guide found Mao Sun to talk privately. Because of the plan to expel Mao Sun from the company of the chairman Jun Sim, the guide reminded Mao Sun to quickly move back to the company's dormitory instead of causing love rumors outside, especially with Daniel. The guide also reminded Mao Sun to be careful in her actions. Meanwhile, Gap Young went to the shopping mall to buy something for Mao Sun. He told the sales staff that it was a gift for his girlfriend. That night, when Mao Sun saw Gap Young walking on the street, she felt worried because she was afraid that there would be rumors about the relationship between the two of them. At this time, Daniel returned to the motel and accidentally witnessed Gap Young and Mao Sun playing with each other. He was angry and asked Gap Young to stay away from Mao Sun. However, Gap Young refused to give up. He declared that he would continue to try to win back Mao Sun's affection. Mao Sun saw that the two men were about to fight over her, so she quickly stopped them and explained that Gap Young was just her childhood friend. Mao Sun hoped that Daniel would not misunderstand. The next day, Daniel took Mao Sun to the company. In the car, Mao Sun looked tired, so Daniel played a song he used to sing when he was a singer and said that this song was called a sedative by female fans. He then covered one of Mao Sun's eyes with his hand to avoid the light. That night, while the two were drinking tea at the motel, Mao Sun noticed that Daniel seemed to be worried about something. Daniel confided that he had been having nightmares recently and that people in his dreams seemed to appear in reality. Mao Sun immediately joked that if she encountered that situation, she would beat the troublemaker so that he wouldn't dare to appear again. If Daniel was afraid of ghosts, he could stand behind her for protection. Mao Sun's words made Daniel laugh. However, Mao Sun became serious and advised him not to hide but to face all challenges. Mao Sun's warm words made Daniel's eyes become gentler. He couldn't help but pat Mao Sun's head, which made her feel very embarrassed. The night before going to bed, Daniel thought about Mao Sun's words of encouragement and felt extremely happy. However, the next morning when Daniel and Gap Young met outside the motel, they didn't like each other and neither of them gave way on the road. In order to make Daniel leave, Gap Young started to break the air conditioner. Daniel was taking a shower when suddenly the water ran out and the hot water turned into cold water. It turned out that Gap Young had adjusted the switch outside. After Daniel caught a cold from the cold water, he wrote a note and stuck it on the door of the room. The content is that Daniel asked his son Gap Young to quickly fix the water heater. However, the note was taken away by Gap Young. Not only that, Gap Young also secretly practiced to improve improve his figure. Previously, Gapyeong's eyesight had decreased and he had to wear reading glasses when reading books and newspapers, but after seeing Daniel's strong muscles, Gapyeong felt jealous and determined to exercise. He started writing letters to Mao Seo-thun and expressed that no matter how she changed, she was still someone he could not forget. In addition, he was noticed by a TV station and signed a contract to become an idol. Before signing the contract, Gapyeong asked the TV station if it was forbidden to date. The other party replied that it was possible to date, but it had to be kept secret and not exposed. Finally, Gapyeong signed the contract and started a new career. Mao Sun was also on the way to fulfilling her dream. The day to debut a girl group was not far away. Daniel and the members of the company are busy preparing for their debut. Mao Sun and the members are also trying to practice to prepare for their debut. While practicing the choreography, Mao Sun can't help but think about Daniel's actions, such as shielding her from the sun, or his gentle head pats, which make Mao Sun feel confused. However, during the practice, a member of the group suddenly felt unwell and fainted on the spot. The member was exhausted and had to be hospitalized. As soon as she woke up in the hospital bed, the member hurriedly wanted to return to the company to practice. She was afraid that if she didn't try hard enough, she would be eliminated. Daniel asked her to rest, and he assured her that there would be no song review before their debut. Mao Sun then visited her and brought a bowl of white porridge and fish soup for the member. Then Mao Sun asked the nurse to help. After a few days, the member was discharged from the hospital, and when she returned to the dormitory, the whole group welcomed her warmly. This touched the member because it was the first time she praised Hana. The next day, the member thanked Mao Sun. The good news was that the group's debut song was completed and all the members were very satisfied. Daniel announced that the remaining members would keep it a secret for the time being. Mao Sun and Hana would be the first to release a teaser for their debut with a classic mythological image in collaboration with past singers. During the preparation, Hana received a gift of 2 teddy bears from a fan. However, Mao Sun discovered that the eyes of these bears contained hidden cameras. Daniel was worried and advised Mao Sun that she should always accompany him during this time. That night, Daniel took Mao Sun home. This showed that he cared for the artist beyond that of a manager. When they arrived at the inn, Daniel asked Mao Sun to give him herbal medicine to help him feel at ease. While the tension about love and dreams was rising, there were also changes in Mao Sun's family. Although Mao Sun always lived in the role of Emily, she still treated her younger sister coldly. Mao Sun asked her younger sister not to interfere in her life. However, Mao Sun could not forget the past with her younger sister, especially when she remembered what happened more than 60 years ago. When their father was sick, her mother had a relationship with an American man. That caused them to be ridiculed by the children in the village. Although Mao Sun was in a bad mood, the next morning she still made a sumptuous meal for her younger sister. Ji-suk and her husband saw the dishes and immediately recognized them as the same dishes that Mao Sun often made. This made Ji-suk's husband suspect that Emily might be Mao Sun's illegitimate daughter. At the dinner table, the younger sister helped Mao Sun lie that these dishes were all hometown flavors, so everyone in the family knew how to cook. However, while eating, Ji-suk suddenly told Mao Sun that she planned to move out. Ji-suk thought that she needed some space with her mother. Mao Sun's sister spoke to Ji-suk in Mao Sun's tone. Ji-suk, with a sad expression, just said that living under the same roof does not mean being a family. Mao Sun felt very sad after hearing this. After that, Mao Sun and her younger sister went to talk privately. Mao Sun's younger sister said that she hoped Mao Sun could listen to daughter with heart, not just ears. That night, Ji-suk's husband secretly checked Ji-suk's phone and found out that she often went to the hospital to visit someone. Out of curiosity, he followed her to the hospital. He discovered that the person his wife visited was an old man in critical condition. During a conversation between Ji-suk and an old woman, he discovered the person lying on the hospital bed was Ji-suk's father. That person blamed Mao Sun for being too heartless. Mao Sun had not cared about him all these years. Then she advised Ji-suk to clearly explain Ji-suk's father's illness to Mao Sun. Meanwhile, another event occurred. While Mao Sun was happily chatting with Daniel at the motel, Jun Sim arrived. Jun Sim had been secretly investigating Mao Sun recently, and Jun Sim found that she could not find any information related to Mao Sun. She also noticed that Emily lived at Mao Sun's house. Jun Sim began to suspect that Emily had many similarities with Mao Sun in both appearance and attitude towards Jun Sim. When meeting Mao Sun at the motel, Jun Sim had a very tough attitude. Jun Sim affirmed that Mao Sun had impure intentions. Jun Sim asked Mao Sun to leave the girl group and the company. However, Daniel stood up to protect Mao Sun and even declared that if Jun Sim wanted to fire Mao Sun, he would also leave the company. company. Junsim called Emily an imposter, but Daniel affirmed that Emily was his family. Daniel's statement moved Mao Sun because of his absolute trust in her. Daniel advised Mao Sun to just focus on doing what she wanted and let him take care of the rest. Mao Sun's eyes were a little sad after hearing this. Mao Sun thanked Daniel for being on her side. After saying that, Daniel hugged Mao Sun. After returning home, Mao Sun lay on the bed. Mao Sun's heart was beating erratically. At this time, Gap Yong called and made an appointment to meet Mao Sun. When they met, Gap Yong gave Mao Sun a contract signed with the TV station, which included a large signing bonus of 200 million won. Mao Sun was happy for Gap Yong. At the same time, Mao Sun also said that it seemed like Junsim recognized her, but Junsim did not know that Mao Sun had become younger. Gap Yong advised Mao Sun to leave the company. He was worried that she would have a hard life. However, Mao Sun refused to leave the company because she did not want to run away, but wanted to persistently pursue her dream. Gap Yong's career has been going quite well recently. He started participating in filming programs and was noticed by the TV station. In addition to his attractive appearance, Gap Yong also became famous after beating up a restaurant owner because the owner had harassed a waitress. The video of this incident spread quickly, making him even more famous. The next day, Junsim invited Mao Sun to meet again, but this time to reconcile. Junsim admitted that she misunderstood and suspected Emily was Mao Sun's niece. However, Mao Sun felt frustrated because Junsim was wrong to suspect Mao Sun. However, Junsim did not give up and continued to have people follow Mao Sun. Junsim wanted to investigate Mao Sun more thoroughly. Junsim even found someone to follow Daniel. A crazy fan of Daniel declared that she would find a way to eliminate Mao Sun so that Mao Sun could no longer approach him. At this time, Daniel called Mao Sun and asked her which song she had chosen to record this time. Mao Sun kept quiet and did not reveal the song, making Daniel even more curious. Daniel's colleagues in the company noticed that he cared too much about Emily, even beyond a normal working relationship. Daniel could not explain his feelings for Emily, but he said that just being with her made him feel very comfortable and happy, even with the smallest things. His colleague warned him that people working in the entertainment industry had no right to demand affection, like she had hidden her feelings for Daniel all this time. She hoped that Daniel would also keep his feelings. Mao Sun and Hana began to discuss plans for the re-recording. Each had a song they wanted to cover. Mao Sun wanted to sing a song that she could never forget, a song by Mao Sun herself that was taken by Junsim. Hana wanted to cover a song by male singer Tasaha, her mother's favorite idol. One day, Hana accidentally discovered an album signed by Tasaha in her mother's drawer. Hana still remembered that when Tasaha sang, her mother would hum along to the beat. That was the first time Hana saw her mother sing. Mao Sun recalled a time when her daughter was still in high school. Jisuk always secretly listened to Tasaha's songs. At that time, Mao Sun had a serious face and took out her daughter's headphones. Mao Sun did not let her daughter do anything but study. Mao Sun decided to help her daughter fulfill dream, and the two decided to cover Tasaha's song. It was said that Daniel was recently being followed by the crazy fan who ruined his career. It seemed that this crazy fan never stopped monitoring Daniel. Mao Sun thought of Daniel's fears, so she took the initiative to find him. After work, Mao Sun dragged Daniel to the bus stop. Mao Sun believed that Daniel's fans realized that Mao Sun was doing this to help her. Before getting on the bus, Daniel said arrogantly that he was afraid of public transportation. However, when he got on the bus, he fell asleep next to Mao Sun. He even accidentally rested his head on her shoulder. Mao Sun felt extremely embarrassed. In order for Daniel to sleep well, Mao Sun tried to straighten her legs. To avoid being seen by others, Mao Sun put her hat on Daniel's head. On the way home, Daniel returned Mao Sun's hat and talked about Tasaha. Daniel invited Tasaha to the company to film, hoping that Hana's mother would also come to the company. He believed that if Jisuk met her favorite idol, she would be very happy. When Daniel returned home, Mao Sun's younger sister was waiting to talk about him. Mao Sun's younger sister thought that the two were a perfect match. Mao Sun's sister hoped that Mao Sun could enjoy love comfortably because that was the true freedom of youth. The next morning, while having breakfast, Mao Sun deliberately mentioned Tasaha's song in front of Jisuk. Unexpectedly, compared to liking idols, Jisuk remembered more clearly the strictness of his mother in the past. Because of his mother, Jisuk gave up all his personal interests. Mao Sun chased after Jisuk and hoped that Jisuk would come to the company to meet Tasaha. Jisuk said that she was no longer the innocent high school girl she used to be. Mao Sun replied that even though Jisuk didn't remember her youth, she should still come to the company to see Hana so that Jisuk could personally confirm whether Hana was on the right path to pursue dream. Because Jisuk might come, Hana worked hard on composing and practicing singing. Hana hoped to gain recognition from her mother. Not long after, Tasaha came to the company to film. Thanks to Mao Sun's words, Jisuk changed his mind and decided to come to the company. When she saw Jisuk arrive, Hana was extremely happy. During the filming, with Tasaha's collaboration in the original song, Mao Sun and Hana's performance became perfect. Jisuk saw her idol idol when she was young and her daughter shining on stage. Jisuk tried to hold back his tears. She felt like she saw herself in her younger years and the dreams that Mal-sun had previously held back. After filming, Jisuk began to acknowledge his daughter's talent. Jisuk decided not to force Hana to follow the same path as her. In addition, Jisuk gathered all his courage and shyly asked Tasaha for an autograph like a young girl. She finally fulfilled her dream of many years. Not only that, today Jisuk specially asked for half a day off. Jisuk planned to take Hana and Mal-sun out for a delicious meal. But at that moment, Jisuk's husband called to inform her of the bad news that her father had just passed away. Jisuk's father was Mal-sun's husband. Decades ago, Mal-sun happened to meet that man in her restaurant. The two of them had a sweet time of love, then got married and had children, but fate did not smile on Mal-sun. Not long after, Mal-sun's husband had an affair with a younger woman. He then secretly remarried and had a child with another woman. Since then, Mal-sun erased the memory of that man from her life. Many years ago, the concubine came to Mal-sun and begged Mal-sun to help her stepdaughter get a household registration, but Mal-sun firmly refused. That treacherous man had never returned to visit his daughter even once, so what right did the concubine have to make such a request? But now, because of the remaining father-daughter relationship, Jisuk still went to the funeral. Unexpectedly, the concubine refused to let go and told Jisuk that it was because of Mal-sun that they had no official status. Jisuk did not object. At this moment, Mal-sun walked in. Without saying a word, she raised her hand and slapped the concubine straight in the face. She bluntly declared that she came here on behalf of Mal-sun to pay back all the grievances Mal-sun had endured over the years. With the mother's protection, Jisuk quietly went inside to say goodbye to her father for the last time. But when Jisuk returned home, she appeared serious and cold. Jisuk questioned Mal-sun why you kept interfering in my family's affairs. Mal-sun sadly and quietly went to the house next door to find Gap-yeong. She felt that her daughter was too pitiful. Gap-yeong said nothing, just silently hugged the woman who was shedding tears. That was the best way he could comfort her. Gap-yeong encouraged Mal-sun, so she returned home and brought wine to drink with Jisuk. Because Jisuk was drunk in her days, she considered Emily as her mother, not knowing that the person sitting in front of her truly was her mother. Jisuk poured out all her heart, blaming her mother for being too cruel because she didn't let her see her father. But at the same time, she also understood that her mother did it just to hurt her less. All of Jisuk's pain and loss were borne by Mal-sun. Her daughter's words made Mal-sun even more tormented. Maybe Mal-sun shouldn't have let Jisuk lose her father's love that year, but Jisuk just gently shook head and said that no matter how much Jisuk blamed Mal-sun in heart, she was still the only mother Jisuk had, and the person Jisuk wanted to cherish the most in the world. After saying that, Jisuk fell asleep right in front of her mother. Mal-sun quietly held daughter's hand and gently patted her. This all-night conversation finally helped the two understand each other more after so many years. Early the next morning, Daniel worriedly ran to find Mal-sun. Daniel angrily asked why she didn't answer his phone yesterday. He had called her countless times all night, but Mal-sun just calmly didn't want to mention last night. At that moment, the company sent a notification message. Daniel opened it and was immediately stunned. The photo of Mal-sun and Gap-yeong hugging each other was taken and spread. Daniel was furious when he saw this. Mal-sun quickly explained that she and Gap-yeong were definitely not the relationship Daniel was thinking about. Daniel finally chose to believe Mal-sun. As long as she and Gap-yeong were not in a romantic relationship, he could accept it. That day, the company held an emergency meeting. Jun Sim took the opportunity to push Mal-sun out of the group, but Daniel firmly defended Mal-sun. He didn't even hesitate to express his feelings, and he declared that Mal-sun was the person he liked. Mal-sun and Gap-yeong were just friends. Thanks to Daniel's protection, Mal-sun once again escaped the danger of being kicked out of the group. While practicing the choreography, Mal-sun kept reminiscing about the moments Daniel spent with her. Mal-sun curiously asked Hana and the group members what it meant if a man said he was thankful that you didn't love someone else. Hana and everyone answered in unison that of course he liked her. Mal-sun was sure of Daniel's feelings, but her face showed embarrassment. Mal-sun's heart was filled with the gentle memories that Daniel had given her. Mal-sun told herself not to think about love and that she had to focus on her dream of becoming a singer. That night, Daniel went to the practice room but didn't see Mal-sun. At this time, Mal-sun hurriedly left the company, intentionally avoiding Daniel. She ignored the ringing phone and went home. At the same time, Jisuk had just returned from work. Jisuk was in a very sad mood because of something unpleasant happening at the company. She really wanted to see her mother to confide in her, but when Jisuk got home, she only found a piece of paper. It said that her mother would be going on vacation for a while. Only then did Mal-sun open her phone and see a message from her younger sister saying, "I'm going to visit father's grave." But in fact, the taxi driver who had the ability to reverse time had come to find Mal-sun's younger sister today. He said that Mal-sun's sister had broken the rules, so she had to follow him. When Mal-sun's younger sister got in the car, she decided to visit her father's grave. This this might be her last stop before her identity completely disappeared. At the boarding house next door, Daniel went to find Gap Yong. He showed him a photo of Gap Yong hugging Emily. Daniel asked Gap Yong not to approach Mal Sun anymore, because Gap Yong was now an idol, but Gap Yong didn't care about his career. In front of the media, he was willing to take all the responsibility. Moreover, Gap Yong insisted that Daniel didn't understand Mal Sun as well as he did. Gap Yong spent more than half of his life watching Mal Sun. Daniel replied that Gap Yong had been following Mal Sun for all those years, but in the end, Gap Yong still couldn't get her love. That proved that there was no fate between the two. That night, Mal Sun left the house and saw Daniel had been waiting for her all night. Not giving Mal Sun a chance to object, he pulled her into the car. His voice was calm but determined. No matter what happened, he wouldn't let her worry. Daniel would wait for her, as long as Mal Sun had the same thoughts as him. After saying that, Daniel suggested that the two of them run away for a while, so they could escape the scrutiny of crazy fans. Even though he said they was running away, Daniel seemed unusually happy throughout the journey. He drove to a countryside famous for its romantic scenery, a hot spot couples to date. Here the two joked and took pictures together. Every time Daniel raised his camera, the focus in the frame never left Mal Sun. There was a group of tourists helping them take a photo together, and accidentally said, "You two look so cute together. You must be a couple in love." Hearing that, Daniel gently placed his hand on Mal Sun's shoulder. The two of them took a radiant photo together. After leaving the tourist attraction, they went to the cinema and rented the entire screening room to watch a classic romance movie. When it came to the kissing scene between the male and female leads, Daniel suddenly felt his heart beat faster and quietly turned away to hide his emotions. When it came to the farewell scene, Mal Sun cried her eyes out. After watching the movie, the two of them went to a restaurant. They ate steamed buns and told silly jokes. During dinner, Daniel suddenly said that he knew the person in front of him was not the real Emily, but that didn't matter because what he wanted was to understand her, and he wanted to find out the real person hidden behind Emily's cover. After the meal, the two of them went to see the sea together. Daniel continued to share his thoughts, and he hoped that Mal Sun could live true to herself when she was with him. Mal Sun did not need to be constrained or hide anything. Daniel hoped that Mal Sun would do what she truly wanted and not let her life pass by with regrets. Meanwhile, Daniel's crazy fan contacted Jun Sim. In fact, the person who had secretly taken pictures of Mal Sun and Gap Yong before was her. The crazy fan's purpose was to eliminate Mal Sun from Daniel's life. She followed Daniel and took pictures of Daniel and Mal Sun entering a hotel together. She immediately sent those pictures to Jun Sim, and she threatened Jun Sim that she would spread the news that Mal Sun was seducing Daniel. This put Jun Sim in a difficult situation. At the same time, social media exploded with pictures of Daniel and Emily being intimate with each other. The rumors spread so quickly that the company had to hold an emergency press conference. As soon as Daniel returned, the crazy fan standing outside secretly rejoiced, thinking that she had succeeded, but she did not expect that Daniel did not avoid the issue at all. At the press conference, Daniel directly exposed that the person who planned this evil plan was the crazy fan who had been following him for a long time. Daniel showed the video as evidence to prove his relationship with Emily. In the video, in addition to Daniel and Emily, there were other members of the girl group and the company's teachers. The truth was that not only were they at the hotel, but the entire trip was attended by the girl group. This was exactly the plan that Daniel had calculated in advance to prevent the media from changing the truth. He wanted to use concrete evidence to protect Mal Sun from false rumors. Moreover, yesterday was also the day the girl group officially debuted. The teachers invited them to the hotel to hold a small celebration party. It was a special day for the girls who had been practicing hard all this time, but the crazy fan refused to give up and continued to seek Jun Sim out. She filed a lawsuit and asked Jun Sim to help her get out of trouble. After all, the person behind the arrangement of the following Mal Sun was Jun Sim. The two argued fiercely when Daniel stepped in. What was even more surprising was that Daniel called Jun Sim his mother. Last night, the crazy fan had revealed this secret to Daniel. The crazy fan only tried to justify that she just wanted to chase Mal Sun away, but Daniel did not give her a chance to continue speaking. He bluntly warned that if she continued to act excessively, he would not hesitate to use any means to protect his people. With no other choice, the crazy fan left helplessly. Jun Sim stood there worriedly asking Daniel when he knew about their relationship. She suggested holding a press conference to clarify everything. Jun Sim even declared that she would do everything to protect her son, but Daniel only looked at Jun Sim with cold eyes. He didn't need a mother to protect him. He had always been able to stand on his own without her. That night, Jun Sim drank alone and recalled memories of past. 20 years ago, she got pregnant before marriage. When her boyfriend told her to have an abortion, she insisted on keeping the baby and immediately broke up with him. But her life was extremely difficult at that time. She was in debt and her singing career was not successful, so she had to work hard to pay off her debt. Because of the pressure of life after Jun Sim gave birth, she had to send Daniel to her sister to raise. days. Now that she saw her son again, she wanted to tell him everything. Jun Sim wanted Daniel to understand that even though she had sacrificed a lot for singing, it didn't mean he wasn't important to her. She had never forgotten him. Daniel didn't blame his mother, but he couldn't accept her coming back at this time, and she was trying to make up for everything for Daniel. The only thing he wanted right now was for the two of them to respect and support each other. After meeting his mother again, Daniel's eyes were filled with loneliness. Mao Sun saw everything. She didn't ask why, but just quietly walked over and hugged him. Mao Sun gave him wordless comfort. Before going home, Mao Sun gently held his hand and encouraged him. That night, when there were only the two of them together, Mao Sun told him about his family for the first time. In that quiet atmosphere, Daniel gradually opened his heart. He talked about his loneliness and the hidden corners that he had never shared with anyone before. When the two of them opened up, Daniel put his coat on Mao Sun and she put her hand on his cheek, giving him some warmth. At that moment, Daniel couldn't hold back his emotions and suddenly kissed Mao Sun. Mao Sun wasn't mentally prepared, but when Daniel bent down for the second time, Mao Sun didn't avoid him anymore. The next day, the girls practiced for the performance. Daniel came to watch, but from the beginning to the end, his eyes only stopped on Mao Sun. Mao Sun also couldn't avoid making eye contact with him many times. Finally, his colleague gently reminded him to restrain himself a little. Daniel's excessive attention made everything too obvious. Meanwhile, Gapyeong still hadn't given up. The son didn't realize that his father had become younger, but he clearly saw the secret war between Gapyeong and Daniel. Gapyeong's son expressed his support for Gapyeong. He even encouraged Gapyeong not to let Daniel take away the opportunity. That day, Gapyeong came to the company to find Mao Sun and told her that instead of worrying about the future, they should enjoy the present. Gapyeong took Mao Sun out for a full day. They stopped by a vintage record store. Gapyeong gently put on headphones for Mao Sun to enjoy nostalgic music. The two of them wandered through the streets and took silly pictures. They wore hanboks and enjoyed the beautiful spring colors and delicious food. As night fell, Gapyeong seriously asked about the recent scandal. Mao Sun sighed and said that everything had almost calmed down, but what she was most worried about was Daniel. He seemed to be lonelier than her. Gapyeong was silent for a while and then suddenly asked Mao Sun liked Daniel. Mao Sun did not deny it. At first, she did not think of Daniel that way, but lately it was becoming harder for her to deceive herself. Realizing Mao Sun's true feelings, Gapyeong just sighed. He chose to withdraw and wished Mao Sun to be brave in love while she still had a young body. Besides love, Mao Sun still did not forget her loved ones. That night when Mao Sun returned home, she brought red bean cakes for her daughter and decided to stay home for a while. While walking around the neighborhood, Mao Sun saw Ji-suk's husband sitting alone in the restaurant she used to own. When asked, Mao Sun knew that the two people she sold the restaurant to did not know how to run the business, causing the restaurant to close. There was a clause in the contract, so today Ji-suk's husband woke up to take back control of the restaurant. But the problem was that the recipe that Mao Sun left behind was lost. Ji-suk's husband did not know how to cook soup. To encourage him, Mao Sun went into the kitchen and personally guided him step by step in how to make traditional soup. In the evening, after work, Ji-suk returned home. When she reached the door, she was surprised to see her mother's shoes neatly placed in front of the door. Ji-suk remembered when she came home late and Mao Sun always stood waiting to scold her for working too hard. Then Mao Sun reminded Ji-suk to take care of her health. Today, Ji-suk's husband had prepared a bowl of hot soup. Ji-suk picked up the spoon to taste it and was surprised because this was the taste of her mother. Last night, when Ji-suk entered Emily's room, she realized that on Emily's clothes there was a familiar scent of her mother. Now, when Ji-suk heard her husband say that Emily taught him the recipe, a suspicion began to form in Ji-suk's heart. At the same time, Mao Sun suddenly felt her legs gradually losing strength, but she didn't pay much attention. Mao Sun didn't know that nearby, the mysterious taxi driver was watching. He laughed loudly and whispered to himself that life is a cycle. The most brilliant flowers are also the first to fade. The next morning, after being reminded by Hana, Mao Sun suddenly realized that it had been a long time since she had her period. Mao Sun quickly went to the bathroom and looked down at her arms. The age spots that are typical of old age had appeared. The company's cleaner happened to see it and sighed, saying that Emily had had similar symptoms before. Mao Sun suddenly asked the woman everything she knew about Emily. After hearing the whole story, Mao Sun walked out of the bathroom with a worried expression. Today was the day of filming the girl group's first MV. Just as Mao Sun was about to start, a sudden sharp pain hit her. Mao Sun tried to continue, but in the middle of filming, her body couldn't take it anymore. Mao Sun collapsed on the floor. When Mao Sun woke up, she quickly reassured everyone and said that she was just a little tired. But Mao Sun knew in her heart that she didn't have much time left, so Mao Sun was determined to finish the MV before this dream ended. With the persistence of Mao Sun and everyone else, the filming went smoothly and was completed on schedule. But as soon as the last scene ended, Mao Sun immediately left the studio. That night she went out and met the mysterious taxi driver again. He seriously asked her to make a choice: return to her old body or keep her current youth. If she chose the second option, she would only have 6 months left to live, and then she would disappear forever. The driver left, leaving Mao Sun with 3 days to think. Mao Sun didn't know what to do, so she made an appointment to meet Gap Young. Mao Sun showed Gap Young the age spots on her arm and told him the truth that Emily was actually her twin sister. This was the secret that Mao Sun's younger sister revealed before leaving. The next day, the members of the girl group suddenly prepared delicious food for Mao Sun. They wished her to stay healthy. For them, she was not only a teammate but also an indispensable part of the group. Their sincere concern made Mao Sun deeply touched. At the same time, it made Mao Sun miss these beautiful times even more. That evening, Mao Sun sat alone in the practice room and looked back on the past. The days of tirelessly pursuing her singing dream, the sweat and happiness when standing on stage, all made Mao Sun reluctant to give up. But if she didn't return, Mao Sun would have to leave her daughter behind. While Mao Sun was thinking, she received a call from Ji Suk. Ji Suk made an appointment to meet Mao Sun to ask about her health. Mao Sun was already prepared for the worst. Mao Sun gently told Ji Suk not to wait for her mother to come back. Unexpectedly, Ji Suk looked straight at Mao Sun, and she was sure that Emily was her mother. It turned out that after all the signs in the past, Ji Suk had guessed that the 20-year-old girl in front of her was her mother. Ji Suk teared up and looked at her mother with loving eyes. What she wanted most was not for her mother to return with an old appearance, but to continue living brightly and beautifully like now. Ji Suk didn't want Mao Sun to sacrifice herself for her family and take on too much and lose herself. Those words were like a knife piercing Mao Sun's heart. That night, she sat quietly in the vocal practice room. Today, for the first time, Jun Sim took the initiative to come forward. Jun Sim sat down next to Mao Sun and talked about things that should have been said a long time ago. For the first time, Jun Sim had a sincere conversation with Mao Sun. Jun Sim revealed the truth that Daniel was her biological son. Jun Sim entrusted Daniel to Mao Sun and hoped that the two could cherish each other. Jun Sim even offered to return the song that had been stolen from Mao Sun. Mao Sun just smiled and refused. Although the song was composed for Mao Sun, it was thanks to Jun Sim that it became known to the world. So seriously, the song no longer belonged to Mao Sun. After Mao Sun's conversation with Jun Sim, Mao Sun made an appointment to meet Daniel at family's soup shop. Mao Sun personally cooked him a sumptuous meal. After that, she also told him that no matter how busy he was, he should remember to eat and rest and not to always force himself on himself. Daniel looked at Mao Sun with worry, as if he sensed something. He was afraid that she would disappear again, like last time. But Mao Sun just smiled and said that meeting or parting is inherently unpredictable. The most important thing is to cherish every moment. When the meal ended, Mao Sun looked at him and softly said, "Don't ask anything, just hug me." He silently did as he said, holding her tightly in his arms. Before leaving, he sent her a new song he composed himself, a song he dedicated to her. Looking at Daniel's back gradually disappearing, an indescribable feeling rose in Mao Sun's heart. At this time, Mao Sun's twin sister appeared. Mao Sun's younger sister didn't talk about past days or ask about the future, but just held Mao Sun's hand tightly. Then Mao Sun's younger sister softly said that no matter what Mao Sun's decision was, she would support Mao Sun unconditionally. Mao Sun smiled, then the two held hands and walked home together. The next day, the stage welcomed the first performance of the girl group. In the dressing room, Mao Sun tried to calm down. While Mao Sun was preparing herself, Daniel appeared and gave her a herbal pill. He patted her on the shoulder and encouraged all the members. He hoped that they could shine on stage today. Right before the performance, the mysterious taxi driver also appeared. He reminded Mao Sun that the 3 days of thinking were almost over. Mao Sun nodded and said that she had made her decision. That day's performance included Ji Suk and her husband in the audience. Mao Sun's younger sister and Gap Young also came to cheer her on. On stage, Mao Sun and the members of the group enjoyed the moment of performing to their fullest. They used their dreams and passion to shine. When the performance ended, the audience below gave a warm round of applause. Witnessing that scene, Mao Sun was extremely moved. This was the most brilliant youth she had ever had, a youth that could not be copied. After the show, Mao Sun took the initiative to invite Ji Suk and her husband to dinner. A few days ago, Ji Suk decided to quit her job at a large corporation, intending to register for an architect certificate exam and pursue the path she truly desired. At the dinner table, the whole family chatted happily, enjoying the warmest moments of family love. After the meal, Mao Sun wrote a letter to Ji Suk. Mao Sun recalled the two completely different lives she had lived: a mother who sacrificed everything for her children, and a young girl who had stood on stage. Every day of Mao Sun was filled with happiness, so happy that she no longer felt lonely, nor was she jealous of anyone else. As Emily, Mao Sun learned a lot from the world of young people. Not only did Mao Sun fulfill her dream, she also met the person she loved. Perhaps life is like a journey, a place where every journey brings beautiful scenery. Mao Sun understands that youth is never about erasing wrinkles or turning back age, but is a state of mind, a hope and aspiration that always exists in the human heart. After sending the letter to her daughter, elsewhere, Mao's son disappeared from this world. A year later, the girl group is still shining brightly, but Emily is no longer on stage. Another performance comes, and Hana misses Emily very much. Before leaving, Emily told her that even if I am not by your side, or even if there is no one to rely on, you must still believe in yourself. Elsewhere, Mao Sun's son-in-law and Gap Yeon's son have cooperated to take over the soup restaurant. With Gap Yeon's help, the two of them rebuilt the shop together and turned it into a bustling and vibrant restaurant. Mao Sun's twin sister continued to live under the sister's identity. Now in that house, only Ji-suk and Gap Yeon knew the truth. Not long after, Ji-suk received the good news that she had passed the architectural exam. Although Emily was no longer by Daniel's side, because of her advice, Danny began to learn to live more seriously. One day he walked into a small restaurant, and suddenly the song he had written for Emily came from the speakers. The familiar melody evoked countless memories of her in him. He raised his head involuntarily, and in front of him was a waitress who looked exactly like Emily. He seemed to realize something. The waitress turned around and smiled gently at him. Just like what Mao's son had said, meeting or parting are both miracles of life. Above is the entire content of the movie. Thank you everyone for watching. Goodbye and see you again.